you might notice that I'm in a slightly peculiar position at an electric charging station. Here with me is Eric Bostrom. Hey Eric, what are we doing here?
It's not a prop. We're really charging the bike.
Yeah, what bikes are we riding anyway?
We're riding the Brammo Empulse R.
Okay.
And I have a 2013 model and a 2014 model. So just kind of seeing the differences, the updates, and kind of testing gear.
Speaking of 2013, 2014, what are these updates that you mentioned just a second ago?
The nuts and bolts of it are really in the motor performance, which is paired nicely because it makes the whole bike just feel like a better package. Of course, there's like some kind of ergonomic changes and a few facelifts, like a new dash and little things. But the big part about the motor is more power, more range because it's more efficient, smoother shifting and smoother transitions, and then a different programming with the motor controller to kind of augment the whole, like, this is a motorcycle and it acts and feels like a motorcycle. 54
horse, 66 foot-pounds of torque. That's something to really scoot us along, and as we've noticed riding around today, that gets us around pretty quickly.
Yeah, the bike, performance-wise, I think the dartboard was like a Triumph Triple, something that performs well, but doesn't have unrealistic expectations for, an electric vehicle. The weight is just slightly less than the Triumph Triple, and the performance, the idea was to make it perform better. Acceleration-wise, we have no problems there. It's a missile around city streets, but when you start stretching the legs up over 100 miles an hour, the things peter out a bit, and that's where that the technology just needs to get better.
This charge station's a free charge station. I mean, a lot of places have free charge stations.
It's true. I haven't seen any free gas stations lately.
Yeah, right?
Maybe that's coming. So there are definitely some upsides, and that's where the balance is.
That's a good lead-in to exactly what we've done today, right? So this morning we started off with full batteries, and we're in the hills of Southern California here, and we're like, let's go ride these things like guys like us would ride a motorcycle. A few things surprised me. These things handle pretty darn well right out of the box.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've ridden some other electric bikes, and you can't always say that about them, but
yeah, the brakes are there,
Exactly.
It's like there's some good performance parts on the bike, and they're getting better as we go.
And it's a fun bike in the canyons. You can keep up with most guys riding 600s or less that are maybe not quite as good of a rider.
Yeah.
We could easily keep up with them and go at a good pace. And we've done 70 or so miles today?
70 miles in the mountains. So.
70 miles of hard canyon riding. And we've drained the batteries down to single-digit levels, percentage-wise, which is why we're here charging them up, which is kind of funny. We did a lot today, and this never let us down.
There's all these balances. The upside is we had a good time.
And the upside is this is free.
And it's free.
An important point I forgot to mention earlier, the motors on these things are liquid-cooled, which, if you haven't ridden an electric motorcycle before in the past, there's a lot of air-cooled motors on these electric bikes, and those overheat really fast. And when they do, you get thermal cutback, which means the power gets reduced.
A lot.
And the fun pretty much suffers as a result. These, like we just said, all-day hard riding, liquid-cooled motors, no thermal cutback.
Yeah.
You can enjoy that power all day long.
That's really a testament to the engineering because it wasn't like that a few years ago. Here today, we saw temperatures up to 104 degrees on a ride, which is about as extreme as I like to go on my motorcycle rides. But we didn't have any thermal cutbacks, not from the motor controller or the batteries or the motor itself. As the power increases, the envelope will keep being pushed. That's what's going to get us a better electric vehicle for a while.
And I know for me, the other unique feature about these Impulses is the 6-speed gearbox. And I rode an earlier model Impulse with the 6-speed, and I gotta say it sucked. I mean, I'll just be honest, it was not a good system. This 2014, it's updated, new gearbox, and you weren't kidding, it shifts well. I could clutchless upshift with it like I would a gas bike, and it didn't upset the bike in any way. It did what I wanted it to do as far as shifting it up. There was still a bit clunky shifting down, I would still say, but between, I think it was the 2012 model that I rode And this one, just that 2-year span, you Brammo guys have done a lot of good work getting this transmission to be a lot smoother in the engagement.
The interesting thing about that is the internal parts of the transmission, nothing's changed. So all of the changes that you're describing come from the new motor and the motor controller, so the electronics. And who knows what's going to be updated next.
I know you've done a lot of development work on these bikes. Is there anything, does this bike have any feedback that you've directly contributed to?
Very much so. Most everything in the throttle, the relationship between what happens when you accelerate and decel has been a big part of working with the electronic engineers. And then the chassis and suspension tuning has been very much my end of it.
Well, it's cool to say that your input has already affected this bike. Yeah, you're on board. You've only been on board fairly short amount of time.
Yeah, just 2 years.
With like a gas bike, if you were working with whoever the gas bike manufacturer would be for 2 years, your input wouldn't be felt until a bike that'd be introduced 5 years from now.
If ever.
If ever.
And that is, I think, two benefits there. It's an American company, so they're built,
in Oregon.
In Oregon, not too many hours from home, and then a small company. So we're able to initiate change quickly. Because I can tell you from even working with manufacturers for, 4 or 5 years at a time, you'd be the kid in the back of the car, like holding your breath and jumping up and down, and no matter how blue you turned, nothing would ever change with the bike. Frustrating. But it's part of being just a small cog in a big machine.
Exactly. However, with that being said, I do have one little complaint.
Good.
Which directly, after your answer, which directly is your fault.
Well, I'm not perfect.
Getting off the throttle, I felt a lot of regenerative effect on decel. Similar to, say, a V-twin, like a big cylinder V-twin. Just a lot of decel effect that I wasn't really expecting.
I love where you're going with that, though. It would be really neat to have the consumer be able to fine-tune that for their preference, because deceleration rate is very much
personal preference. 2014 Impulse R. It's made leaps and bounds over the last one I've ridden. So what's the price on these things?
They retail for $18,995. Biggest thing is to get on a test ride on them, see if it's the right bike for you.
Brammo.com?
Brammo.com.
That's where you find them.
Yeah.
Very cool. Eric, thanks so much, man.
Cool, sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun.
All right, you've heard what Eric has to say about these things. For the full article, go right here, Motorcycle.com, read my full story. I'm sure you'll like it.
Ignition switch. We turn it on. We wait for it to boot up. It goes through its starting sequence. When you see drive appear, then you go to the starter button and hold it down for a couple of seconds until the bike becomes live, at which point it displays on and kickstand down. The bike's still not live, so it's safe. If we put the kickstand up, the bike flashes that it's live and the throttle becomes active. And that's the basic starting sequence.